very special episode of the Scum and Villainy Podcast, a weekly Star Wars podcast. We break down the latest and greatest in Star Wars news. As always, I'm your host, Garrett McDowell. But today, like I said, it's a special episode. We are joined by a very, very prestigious guest, voice actor known for their many roles in Star Wars. But we're talking today about Hera Syndulla in Star Wars Rebels, The Bad Batch, Forces of Destiny, Star Wars Squadrons, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Welcome, Venessa Marshall.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm glad we could finally work this out and get together. It's good to see you again.
Yes, we ended up chatting in San Francisco at Fan Expo, and we were like, let's do it. Let's have an interview. And Noah's here too. Noah's here to join us, but he's always here. So.
I'm not nearly the most important person here on this call right now, but I'm so glad to be here. This is a dream come true for me. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you, Vanessa, my dad says hello, because I
Awesome.
introduced my dad to Star Wars Rebels, and he's crazy about it. He's crazy about it. He can't believe
so
that
cool.
I'm
That's
here
great.
talking with you right now. So yeah, this is awesome.
Well, thank you. Tell him I say hi.
I will.
So we're going to have a pretty lengthy discussion here, getting into the nitty gritty of Hera. Obviously, you voiced a ton of stuff in the industry, but Noah and I, like he had mentioned, such huge fans of this series and this character in particular. I know both of us, it is one of our all-time favorite Star Wars characters. So yeah, it's a true honor to have you here. But before we get into the bulk of the interview, Hera, let's see how many times that happens throughout the episode.
Okay.
Vanessa, yes. Let's have a little bit of fun. And these are some icebreakers, you know, feel free to take as much time on these questions as you want. Take as little time. You can be as brief or complicated as you want to be. So first and foremost, Hera is on the Ghost. There's got to be snacks around the Ghost. What kind of snack does Hera want? Is it sweet? Is it salty? Is it Mei-Lu runs? You know, what is...
I think it's Mei-Lu runs. I was just going to say, how'd you know? Yeah. Hold on. I have one right here.
Oh, she's got a prop.
Well, I've got a couple.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
This was given to me. I think it was at Chattanooga Comic-Con. And then they also gave me this sticker.
That's awesome.
Reflective sticker. Yeah. I have... pretty much, this is my live stream room, and if you've ever given me a gift, it's probably here somewhere. So if you do join my Twitch channel at Venessa Marshall 1138, there's a Women Crush Wednesday, and then there's also random streams for Metal Gear Solid and Star Wars and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I feature all the gifts I've been given, including Mei-Lu Run. But I think Hera would have these. They're healthy and yeah.
Yeah, that looks like is that a Christmas ornament? Like there's a little.
No, I think it's just a Mei-Lu Run.
Whoever made that, if they're listening, I want a Christmas ornament version of that, because that's got to go on the tree.
Yeah, I believe it was Georgia Chopper. I can find the Instagram handle. You can probably make that request quite easily.
That is fantastic. Okay, what is Hera's go-to karaoke song?
Yeah, I believe it's GA_Chopper. Her go-to what?
Karaoke song.
Killing Me Softly.
Nice. Classic. If Hera had a day off from leading the Rebel Alliance, how do you think she would spend it?
Probably leading the Rebel Alliance.
No days off for Hera?
That's totally fair, yeah.
No, sleep when you're dead. Never. No, there's no days off.
In season 3, we see Hera making a pretty daring rescue to retrieve her Calicori. What is something that you own that you would make a similar rescue attempt to retrieve?
I actually have a Calicori.
Of course you do. Why wouldn't you?
That?
I don't know if you can see here. Walk with me for a sec. Hold on.
We're walking. We're on the move. Yeah.
We're on the move. This was Super Bowl 2012.
Oh, wow.
When the New York Giants actually won the Super Bowl. I don't know if you can see that picture up there.
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that amazing catch that all my friends who are in love with the Patriots never want to talk about.
Yeah.
But, you know, I have a lot of Giants gear in addition to Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
So if anyone were to take that poster, I might have to, you know, make some fighting sounds and do some high kicking to get that back.
Yeah.
Special moment. How special? When it happened,
Mhm.
The jeans I was wearing, the button in the back of my pants, I did a whole breakdance thing, and
Oh my goodness.
I bored a hole out in the floor of my living room, and I kept it there. That's also still there, and I don't care. And if I sell the house and they view it as an imperfection, I'm going to say that that encapsulates that moment of victory, and I do not apologize for said imperfection.
Of course. No, you should put up a plaque. It needs to be like a,
Yes.
a monument.
I was
This
gonna
is
say
where
you
I-
can like cut out that like portion of the
Yeah,
floor and take it
Put it
with
right next to the
you.
Giants
Yes.
picture.
my little breakdance moment. Yeah, it was the spin at the end that created the hole in the floor. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really prize objects. I prize each one that has a piece of history to it,
Yeah.
and there are quite a few in my home if you count like all these
Mhm.
gifts. But I think I cherish people more than things, and I don't
Yeah.
necessarily have a totem as, sacred as
Yeah.
a Calicori, but that moment was a pivotal moment in my life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even the Calicori is still very much so related to people in history, like you were talking
This
about,
is true.
and in heritage. So it's more than just a trinket or a piece of art like it is to Thrawn.
Oh,
It's her entire
yeah,
DNA.
absolutely. And I think I just don't have any such object in my own life
Sure. Sure.
that would symbolize the things that I care about. I do think that that object does symbolize the things that I care about, but I don't have anything like that. And
I know when we did talk, I know that you were a pet fan. You liked the cats that we had. I remember my girlfriend like showed you pictures of her cats, and I wanted to ask if Hera, there's the Loth cat right there. If Hera had a pet, do you think it would be a Loth cat, or do you think it would be another Star Wars creature?
now you're looking at it.
There it is.
And what's the name?
A Loth cat?
Yeah.
No,
Have
no,
you
no.
named it?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Well,
Hey,
you have
that's
until
fine.
the end of the interview to think of a
Okay.
name for
All right.
it.
Got
Okay.
it.
No pressure. No pressure
That'll be
at
your
all.
assignment. If Hera could take a vacation to any Star Wars planet, where would she choose?
Since we're doing the Scum and Villainy, I think I'd go to Tatooine.
Nice.
I want to
What's
see the two setting suns, and I want to see the hive of Scum and Villainy myself.
related to it, do you think Hera would make a good pod racer, or do you think it's going to be a disaster?
She'd do all right.
I think
She'd
she
do
would.
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, she would do all right. I think
Yeah.
her instincts are quite good.
Do you think she would win or just survive?
She might win.
I'm not. I will never bet against Hera Syndulla. So yeah, you're probably right.
I wouldn't put it past her.
I wouldn't put it past her either. She's got the skills. She could do it. She's got the reflexes. I bet she could do it. But
Yeah.
if you had the chance to act opposite any Star Wars character, who would you choose? Preferably somebody that you've not had a chance to.
Oh, that's a great question. God. Well, when I did the scene with Lando Calrissian, I thought all my dreams were going to come true, but he was shooting Dancing with the Stars at the time. But I'm a
Oh,
huge Billy D. Williams fan, so if that had actually occurred in real time, that would have been the realization of a huge dream. But
yeah.
I mean, there are many of the new female characters that I adore.
Mm-hmm.
As well. So
Any in particular that come to mind?
I love Jyn Erso. I think Daisy Ridley is a genius. I mean, any of those women are
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of one that I wouldn't want to work with or act opposite. But I think if there's one particular character that Hera did not have the pleasure of dealing with, I think it would be Asajj Ventress.
Oh, nice.
And
Mm.
my curiosity, and maybe we'll find out in Bad Batch, I have no idea, but when I found out that like she lives, it was almost like if Plo Koon came back from the dead, I'd be like, oh,
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Well, knowing Dave Filoni, that's not,
It's not
not
that.
off the
I mean,
table.
if Ventress
So
can come back, we know. We know
dude,
Plo Koon's
when
on the
I heard
table.
that, I mean, the thing is, I think she's in a very interesting position as a bounty hunter, that she could be persuaded. It's sort of like she'll go with the highest bidder. I understand she was with Dooku. I get it.
Yeah.
But she's got her history with Dathomir and all that, like there, I think that character has a capacity to come to the light side and the right side. And I wonder if even if she had like a few fireside chats with Ahsoka, if she would join the Rebel Alliance, that would be amazing. And I, like, my daydream as a Star Wars nerd and huge fan of Asajj Ventress would be if there was some, I don't know, yet another season of the Clone Wars where Ventress was allowed to come back.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in Bad Batch. I'm thrilled, but if she ends up aligning with Rebel Alliance, perhaps for reasons that are more nuanced than anything we could ever imagine, because Dave Filoni's mind is so brilliant, but that nothing would make me happier. And I would love to see Hera deal with Asajj Ventress. I think that would be an interesting challenge.
Yeah, we love interest around these parts. I'm reading Dark Disciple right now, which is like
Oh God, brace yourself. Okay,
yeah, I know what happens, but I'm not
Dude.
emotionally prepared for it. But the fact
No,
that she is
I
coming
can't-
back in
yeah.
Bad Batch, I'm like, it'll be okay. It'll be okay.
Exactly.
She's gonna be
See,
fine.
now, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. But and we know this from all the interviews that you've done before, and also just hearing you speak now. You're such a big Star Wars fan. You have such a clear love for this character, such a clear love for this universe. And I really admire that, because there's so many people who are a part of the Star Wars family that, yeah, it's a job like anything else, but there are lots of people who are a part of this tapestry that really want to spread the love, be a shepherd of this. So I appreciate how much you give back to the Star Wars fans too.
Well, thank you. They are my family. I think I'm gonna go with Lola.
Lola, nice.
Well, because I was thinking of like Lothcat.
Mm-hmm.
And Lola, I was concerned might be too contemporary, but
well, Leia did name her droid Lola, so you might have some
okay, then I feel
there.
better about that. And
Yeah.
and nickname Lolo.
Lolo, that's cute. I like that.
Yeah. Love. Anyway,
Lolo.
thank you.
Why are you putting Lolo away? They should be here the entire interview. just hang on tight to them. I'm just kidding. But like I said, we've spoken before that how much you love this character, how much fans love this character, who is not only really nurturing and kind, but also courageous and strong. And I just wanted to know, as an actress, as a voice actress, was there anyone from your own life or any other characters like in popular media that inspired you when approaching the role of Hera?
Not necessarily. I felt like in a weird way she was the love child of Han Solo and Princess Leia.
Mm-hmm.
I know there is such a love child, but I meant that energetically that she would have the moxie of Leia and the prowess of Han, if one could deign to even approach that. But I felt that she had that drive, not the arrogance of Han Solo, because he could at times be that, but his flying skills, nothing can approach the Millennium Falcon. Let's be honest, guys.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Well, the Ghost gets it to run for its money, in my opinion. But
yeah, it does. But I don't know. I've gone over this with Pablo Hidalgo, and I think the Falcon. It really depends on what your needs are.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of our, we talk about this all the time of how
Sure.
how these characters are, there's no such thing as derivative in Star Wars, that, you have characters taking influence from other characters, just based on how these creators want to put their own stamp on something else. So you can see that very clearly from the beginning of the show. I mean, for you playing the character, did you have like a different approach throughout this series, like starting in season 1 and by the time we end up at season 4? How did you approach playing that character differently from the very beginning?
Well, it's interesting. I've also started teaching voice acting, and mostly commercial and animation, but how this relates to your question is a lot of people say like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know. And I say to them, do you know how to play? Do you know, do you like D&D? And universally the answer is yes, right? And I said, so when you build a character and you create that world and you surrender your will to the narrative of the dice and the roll and the spontaneity of each moment and listening in each moment and building and freaking out and losing and dying and everything that happens in a D&D game that you used to do as a child without question. Remember that place of grace, that place of open-hearted joy where one just does. They know you know exactly how to do this, and you're not worried about whether your friends are going to believe you as that wizard or whatever it is that you're playing with your friends. That level of intimacy, of vulnerability, of willing to just really crack my heart open at the microphone and play hard with that kind of commitment. I just kept giving myself permission to enjoy that every session, if that makes sense. And so it's, at the end of the day, it's not really work, but it does take a little bit of spiritual algebra, if you will, to get out of the way. My critical mind of like, well, what about this? Or what about this? Or what about an empire when this? And what about blah, blah? It's just sort of like to just be present in that moment and trust that if you just show up to the table, if you just show up to the game, if you just show up to the microphone, that you possess everything you need to imbue that moment with whatever nuanced level of courage or fear or, and there were a million versions, losing, spoiler alert, losing Kanan, losing the Calicori, being challenged by Thrawn, discovering Ahsoka. I mean, there were so many glorious moments of sort of dashed hopes and then renewed faith and title changes and the expansion of her relationship with Kanan and losing it before it even had a chance to really grow into anything. I just allowed myself to be present in each of those beats and delight in the discovery of where that they could go. Now, what does that look like in the scene when she first sees her father? Dave had texted me one day, and I mean, forgive me if you've already heard this, but he had texted me, do you think she would ever speak with a Ryloth accent? I said, only if she's angry. And I based that on some of my friends who are from different parts of America. They speak in a very neutral accent in general, but if their mom calls and starts yelling at them, sometimes they'll go back into, if they're, from Texas, they go back into like a Southern drawl and they get really upset. And then suddenly I hear boy howdy coming out of their mouths. And I'm like, boy howdy? Who are you? And then I realized like, oh, you've been triggered. You're 5 years old again. And you're scraping at the walls to try and find your voice and your power, and you've lost the vernacular of adulthood where we all act like we know what we're doing or whatever, so that when we recorded that scene where she sees Hera Syndulla for the first time in many, many years, and she suddenly goes off having a Ryloth accent, we did that scene many different ways. And when I left that day, I really had no idea what they were going to edit together. And they ended up using the take where she sort of slips back into her hometown accent, if you will. That's what I mean by being present and willing to play and grow. But I plugged into, look, I'm an only child. So my friends were my family. I'm well-versed in chosen family. I'm not saying I am not tight with my mom and dad, but when you're a kid living in an adult world, at least I grew up on a block with 27 kids. I had a million families. I had a million friends, and we had a million stories that we would tell with one another when we would play together, so that that kind of commitment to a bit, if you will, is something that I've kind of been doing my whole life. And the voice acting is a bit of an extension of that. And so I guess it was being available to the fun and the magic that happens in that moment, and taking direction from Dave, because he, was absolutely brilliant in every session. But while the circumstances changed, that having that, ironically, that humility to be of service to the narrative in that way, to get out of the way, let my self-criticism or whatever just leave it at the door and come in and be ready to do whatever was necessary. That practice was constant and delightful. And I never knew which takes they were going to pick. So it was fun for me to watch it as a fan as well for that.
The episode you were talking about is season 2, episode 16, Homecoming, and I'm really glad that you had mentioned it, because I know that you speak French yourself. You're actually fluent in it, which is something that I didn't know until researching for this interview. But I wanted to ask about that moment, because I had heard you speak about that before. But in your mind, in your headcanon mind, like keeping everything that you had just said in mind, when she slips back into that accent, it almost kind of begged the question of, okay, but when did she lose it? And I wanted to ask you, Hera leaving home to go join the Rebel Alliance, is that accent something that just gradually, in a natural way, she kind of loses over time? Or is it Hera kind of rebelling against her heritage and choosing, almost like in a code switching kind of way, like choosing not to sound Twi'lek, as it were? Is it a choice for her? Is it just something that just kind of naturally happened?
Well, she's known as Spectre 2, not Spectre 1. And it's not code switching like, oh, I don't want people to know where I'm from. I mean, I don't know, she looks like a lot of people from Ryloth. So you're safe to guess she may be from there.
Yeah.
But if she can fly under the radar as Spectre 2, but she's really calling the shots, if she doesn't have an accent like that, you know, if she is as bland and as beige and as invisible as possible, fine, she has Laku, etc., but there's no connection to Chom Syndulla. I think she can get a lot more done for the cause. So it's more a matter of self-erasure for the sake of the sacrificing that for the win of getting, you know, Ahsoka in line with us and moving the cause forward, etc.
Yeah.
So it's to her benefit, I think, for the most part, to remain a mystery, not necessarily ashamed of her upbringing.
Yeah. I mean, that is one of the things that, you know, you as an actor have that ability to kind of control the narrative there, to say, you know, this is the kind of character that I see in what's been written, right? I'm sure, you know, bringing yourself into that is obviously a huge part of that. The other piece that we've talked about here and there so far is Dave Filoni and you know, what is his vision in all of this, and that's obviously something that you have been able to, you know, hear how his brain works for quite some time now, I'd imagine. What would you say is a common you know, note or a piece of direction that Dave has given you about the character of Hera? Because it sounds like it's somebody that you understand probably just as well as he does, and you have that ownership. So what's something that Dave has maybe given you as a note most commonly?
He's very respectful. He would always ask me what I think. He never told me what to do per se.
That doesn't surprise me. You know, he's
I mean,
the
I
nicest
think,
guy in the world.
yeah, I think he trusted my instincts and let me explore things. I mean, I'm trying to think if there was like I don't know. He would sit us down. I'd always said that it's almost like a hockey game where, like, he comes in the locker room before the game. You know, we're putting on our skates before we're about to record the episode. And, you know, he gives us the lay of the land, the team we're playing, what we're up against, how it serves the overall season, and, you know, the significance of this particular beat, of this arc, of this time. And then we huddle up and we high five and then we dive in. And then, you know, he would say like, why don't you try it again? Like, he wouldn't say, oh, that sucked, you know, please stop doing that or anything. You know, it was, why don't we try that again? And I felt like when he asked for the scene to be done again, it was giving us permission to explore other options, that I felt like he had more understanding of what we were capable of than we did. And he gave us a safe space to realize that. So I feel like more than a common direction over and over, it was just that level of encouragement and faith in our ability to do it and do it again and do it again and figure out to just really get all the possible power out of each moment.
I mean, yeah, it sounds like, being able to go through those different permutations of a scene or an episode or whatever it is, that's it sounds like you guys are kind of, all working together again, like a found family. That's what
Yeah.
Rebels is all about. It's what Star Wars is often about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I was saying before, with you having ownership over the character just as much as someone like Dave, there were there any times that you can remember, obviously knowing that he's somebody that allows you to make those choices. Was there anything that you can remember that, was a conscious choice on you saying, I think that Hera would play it this way. I think that, that this is the direction she would take it. And that's what we end up seeing in the episode. Was there anything like that? I know we kind of mentioned with the accent, kind of dropping back into that native accent, that being something. But was there anything that you vouched for specifically?
No, I always trusted that Dave knew with sort of a supreme insight exactly what serves the overall need of the narrative. So I never every word was easy to say. Like it was so well written and everything really truly I just have no idea how they managed to understand these characters so well and write perfectly for each one of them to where it everything made sense. There was nothing that was like, oh, she would never do that, or I don't believe so. He would ask me for my opinion about certain things, but I would never think that I know best. I would always defer to what he thinks and then give him options to choose from.
Yeah.
And we know that Dave obviously had such a big hand in the show from a creative side, but he also gets his hands dirty in the recording booth as well. He does the voice for Chopper.
Yes.
I want to know what that is like. Does he just, before the season records, he just goes in the booth and just makes a bunch of noise, or is he in the scene with you? Are you guys like acting opposite one another? Because I have to know what that experience is like.
What it's like is if you're doing a scene and Chopper's in it, you just read the scene by yourself.
Oh man.
And I never heard him do those in real time. So I assume he did them when all of us were gone. I don't know, maybe some other actors have got to work with him, but I'm not sure. I don't think we even knew who did the voice of Chopper for a while.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think we found out after the first celebration 2014, maybe.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
See, I wouldn't be surprised knowing Dave if he was like, "No, I don't want anybody here. I'm going to do it by myself." Like,
Yeah, I think that is what happened, but I'm not certain. It didn't happen when I was there, so no idea.
Gotcha. You've talked before about playing different stages of Hera's life, obviously kind of carrying this emotional weight of the entire galactic civil war, but also recently in the Bad Batch, we got an opportunity to spend time with a younger version of Hera. And I'm curious, as a voice actor, somebody who really just has the timbre of their voice to sell a character, is it a difference of just mostly pitch and you sound like a younger person, or is there a real process of getting yourself emotionally in the headspace of not only what it's like to be a child, but what it's like to be Hera at this age, who's no normal child by any means?
Very much so. It was so much fun because we didn't know the moxie that I mentioned earlier. How much of that does she have at that age? Is it more interesting if she has little to none and we know where she lands? Whoa, that's quite a journey. Or we see the seeds of it, or we choose the moments where I can see how that's the woman who become, or, the Twi'lek who becomes Hera, or the Hera that we know. We would do the scenes and sometimes we would do it with a thicker accent. Sometimes we would do it with her sounding younger. We would do it with her sounding more gruff and world weary with less of an accent. Like we didn't know what was the most interesting transformation.
Mm-hmm.
And so we played with it and found it together. And where we landed was this very curious adolescent who questioned authority, but was still somewhat respectful, but drawn to flight. And we see her curiosity and how that hunger for flight could lead her down the path she eventually chooses to take. And how quick she is to make found family and friends. You know, we saw that as well. And that she's not afraid to buck up against her father.
Yeah.
But it's really, we see her sort of testing the limits of that and knowing where she ends up. We played with it in the moment and found it together because we weren't sure what was the most delicious choice. And I think where we landed had sort of moments of each version. Some moments she was a little tougher, and others she was more vulnerable, and others she was more open-hearted, I guess, where you could see like, oh yeah, there's that pilot.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I was wondering, as a voice actor, could you articulate the differences between voicing another very strong character like Wonder Woman, for example, and then voicing Hera? Like in your eyes, how do you approach them? Because I feel like for most people, it would sound, if I was to approach it, it would sound the exact same. But with you, they sound like different people. And how do you even approach that?
yeah, to a certain extent, when I was playing Gamora and Hera at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
I was aware of the fact that they were both green. They were both in space.
Yeah.
And wow, okay. And I ended up thinking about their childhoods and their coping skills born out of their individual trauma and how they choose to live their life in response to that trauma
Mm-hmm.
and where their voice is located as a result. And I felt that Gamora, dealing with Thanos and being taught to be basically a weapon and a criminal, the guilt that she had from all the people that she killed on his behalf, that she was her her vocal strength came from a lower place in her body. She was much
Mm-hmm.
more grounded, much and a little bit more jaded because of the heads she had to crack open with her bare hands and whatever else. But the fact that she has a bit of Hera's heart in that she chooses this randy group of, I think they call them a-holes in the movie trailer, but that she has this chosen family and she's somewhat seeking redemption by trying to do good at this point in her life and break free from her past. But she was basically, this wasn't something that she chose as a child. It was something foisted upon her, and it impacts her voice.
Yeah.
And Hera is a little bit more she's more cerebral and also has more of a heart connection. She leads more from her heart. She's also a general, but and a fighter, but it comes more from the mind. And it's a little bit more esoteric. And as a result, her voice was a little bit higher and a little bit more full of hope. And I don't think she saw the darkness that Gamora saw. You know, and equally, Wonder Woman, I feel like the depth of her voice comes from, you know, the history that she was born out of, to have that kind of brawn and that superpower, and that her voice was almost resonating throughout her entire body with convictions and ethics and seeking justice, and very similar goals between the three women, but how they implement their tools, their gifts, and the parts of them that are broken, perhaps, given what they've survived. And I think, Wonder Woman is just committed to these ideals of, helping women and this and that. There's a lot of sort of ethical stuff that drives her that's not necessarily located somewhere in her spine, but her voice has, whereas Gamora's, down sort of in the base of the spine. I feel like Wonder Woman is louder and wears it on her sleeve and it doesn't apologize for, or, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there, but I will say this as well. If one tries to act with a sound in mind, I had to be aware of the difference between Hera and Gamora and make the choice and be able to make Hera on Thursdays and Gamora on Tuesdays and make sure that I brought the right green lady to the thing.
Yeah.
It was paramount that I make sure that there's a difference, right? And they're both Disney cartoons at that point, also could be problematic, right? So, but whenever one is going for a sound, the acting can be hollow as a result. I find that the history and the intentions and the goals and the specific yearning of each character, that guides the voice first and foremost. And if I have to make sure that it doesn't sound like someone else, then I might trim this or add this, but it has to come from their soul first, and each soul is unique and therefore they're different characters. So
yeah.
I
wanted
mean,
to oh, go ahead. No,
I think it's, it's really fascinating to hear kind of the different things that go into these characters. Obviously, Hera is a character that takes that passion and is expressive with it. That's something that you're able to portray, is the passion that Hera has. Kind of included in that is her relationship with Kanan, and their interaction informs so much of how Hera treats, the rest of the Ghost crew. Just for you, like, what's, how does that relationship evolve throughout the early seasons, and how does that then inform Hera's, performance for you?
well, I feel like it was very much tucked under for the first couple seasons.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was because it wasn't a priority. And I think also she took for granted assuming that they would have time for that later. Right. And unfortunately, we find out we are not guaranteed any such thing. And so particularly the last portion of the show was about her contending with that assumption, beating herself up for it, and wishing that she had more time with him. And yet she put the cause first because it was more important. There were lives in the balance, that the stakes were high. She had no choice, but at the same time, there are choices and consequences, and the consequence of that choice, given that this Jedi was willing to sacrifice himself for the greater good, she lost that opportunity. And I did not expect her to be filled with regret. The lessons that I took for myself are that I think I oftentimes I'm very busy at all times. I'm going 3 million miles an hour, and I'm trying to do the Twitch stream, and I'm trying to pay it forward and help support all these causes for different marginalized communities, or things that I truly deeply care about and have been contributing to for a long time anyway, and also elevating my friends, amplifying their work. And it takes a lot for me to get that together. I redid my website. Creating this room. I mean, it's a labor of love, but it's a labor, and there's not a lot of free time for hanging out with friends, unfortunately, as a result of that. And I feel like I too am sometimes guilty of what Hera had to come to terms with at the end of the show, which is the priority of the Rebel Alliance over everything else, and the loss of life and the loss of opportunity for true connection. And I really love Filoni for putting that in the middle of the season so that we could all heal together, both cast and the fans, to demonstrate that we with Chosen Family can get through any hardship together. And, could have been a great cliffhanger, but instead he wanted to show people that Star Wars family can get through anything, and we did. And I have many tribes that I belong to. I have many fandoms that I am very connected to. I mean, the New York Giants won. The Star Wars community, I think, is probably the largest, given that my entire home is like a ghost, like a phantom.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Star Wars everywhere. Like, it's a deal breaker if someone walks in my house. I had one friend call it, "Oh, are you doing your Star Wars thing?" And I was like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, do I need to rethink my entire friendship with you?" There are a couple wars. It's anyway, but
Yeah.
the Metal Gear Solid community, I'm working with them to create a crowd-funded fan event, and we're raising money for the Wounded Warrior Project. And I have many families. I have many people that I care deeply about, and I hope that I don't have the same problem where I'm working so hard to give back and do all these things that are worthwhile, no doubt. I that lesson isn't lost on me. I could use a dose of making time for the work-life balance thing of just being present with people and letting them know that they matter. That's what I'm trying to do with my
Yeah.
stream and all these different things, but um sometimes I don't get to see my parents as much as I should, and they're in their 80s, and I worry like, oh God, again, it's choices and consequences, and I hope there's enough time to let everyone know how much I love them.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of which, time is officially running out. It's very sad to
Oh,
see you go because we could talk. We haven't even got to Jason yet. I wanted to show some love to Kevin
oh,
Kiner in all of his music,
yes,
but unfortunately, we
yes.
do have to let you go. Hopefully, we'll be able to have you back because,
I
of
would love
course, we could
to.
talk Hera all day long.
Yeah, maybe around May 4th, like around Star Wars Day or something.
Hey, don't have to ask me twice. I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Yeah, let's circle back. Yeah,
Let's
that would
do
be
it.
great.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
again, everything that you had just talked about, I'm going to definitely hit you up afterwards. We're going to include those links in the description because we want to support those causes around these
Oh,
parts
thank
as
you. Thank
well.
you.
But again, one more chance. Thank you so much, Vanessa Marshall. It was such a pleasure having you on. We
Yeah.
love this character so much. And thank you so much for being a part of the Star Wars family. But last chance, do you have anything that you're working on that you want to plug or some of those organizations you were talking about that you want to show some love to?
Yes, well, like I said, I just launched my Twitch channel. It's at Venessa Marshall 1138 same as my Instagram. And I have a Women Crush Wednesday stream where I play the video games here that I voice alongside the women who voice them. I
Awesome.
had Great Lyle here. We attempted to play Marvel versus Capcom, Gamora versus Captain Marvel, but my controllers decided to die. Really?
No.
Yes. Next week, Susan Eisenberg, the voice of Wonder Woman, is coming to play Injustice 2. Yes, Injustice 2.
Mhm.
Black Canary versus Wonder Woman. That'll be next week. We're raising money for Black Girls Code this month, but I'll have more and more guests every Wednesday. And I'm also doing the Metal Gear streams for MGS Con. It's July 20th at the Hilton in Long Beach. And you can find out more information at mgscon.com if that's a game that interests you. We have amazing panels all day. All the actors are there, and it's just such a special event. And someone from the Wounded Warrior Project comes, and all the artists draw pictures of the various characters in the game, and the actors sign them. We
Mhm.
auction them off and give money to the Wounded Warrior Project.
Wow.
Um, but I'm also going to have another stream night called hashtag Star Wars Family, and I'm going to play all the retro Star Wars games. I'm the voice of Jan Ors. I believe it's Jedi Knights. I
Yeah.
play Hera in Squadrons, and we're going to run through all of those. I hope to have Sam Witwer, Matthew Wood, the voice of Grievous, and every clone, or not clone, the droids,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
Matthew Wood has said that he would come along, and yeah, that's going to be really special. And I'll just say this coming Monday, I'm not sure when your podcast comes out, but I believe it is Monday the 19th.
Mhm.
We'll be doing a kind of hashtag Star Wars family stream, Sam Syndulla, who cosplays as Hera, will be here. And we are going to do a fundraiser for Indy Speeder, who is an adorable girl. I don't know, you can find her on my feed, but we're going to be donating money to the National Down Syndrome Foundation in her honor. And we're going to have all kinds of people, cosplayers, call in, and we're going to celebrate all the cosplay in the Star Wars universe. And I have Leku. I may be donning them, and I
Bust
think
them out.
I think
Nice.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Things could get crazy in here Monday night, but whatever.
Uh-oh.
But anyway, if you go to at Venessa Marshall 1138, you can get all that information there. And on my new website, VanessaMarshall.com, you can see which events I'm at in 2024. I'll be at Pensacola next week at Pensacon with Taylor Gray, and we've got all kinds of Rebel stuff. It's the 10-year anniversary of the show this year.
I know.
So,
I can't wait.
yeah, and there's a Harley Quinn on HBO Max. I play Wonder Woman on that, and I have a couple other cartoons and video games coming out that when I'm allowed to announce them, I will. So if you follow me on the socials, you'll get all that good stuff. But more than anything, I just say to my Star Wars family, please know that you're loved and that you matter, and may the Force be with you always.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you again, Venessa Marshall. We will absolutely be taking up on that offer. And what a better way to celebrate May 4th than have you come back around these parts. So
Perfect.
Yet again, thank you so much.
Thank you.